तुझको अर्पण, तेरा तुझको अर्पण, क्या लागे मेरा, ओम जय जगदीश हरे.
And can you tell me what Balvihar is if I don't know?
It's kind of like where aunties tell you tell you about goddess and gods and stuff like that, and you make pictures of the gods.
Do you believe in God?
Yes, of course.
Yeah?
Yes,
Where do you think God lives?
everywhere.
ओम जय जगदीश हरे, स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे. भक्त जनों के संकट, दास जनों के संकट, जल्दी दूर कर. ओम जय जगदीश हरे.
Balvihar is a fun-filled hour of power for children. We teach our culture and heritage to children in a fun way so that they can learn it, they can understand it, and they can practice it.
My God is so great, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing my God cannot do. The mountains are His, the rivers are His, the stars are His handiwork too.
Every Saturday, this is our routine. We always come to Balvihar. They never even miss it for birthday parties. They're not allowed to. And Balvihar cannot be missed. And I think, in India, no one needs to do this because it's just part of life. It's all around you. But here, you sort of have to give them opportunities to experience some of this because otherwise it'll never happen.
Arushi, tell me one phone that Vishnu takes. Krishna. What else? Yeah?
Shiva.
No, Nidhi.
I know one. Ram.
Ram. Okay, what about
It's the same.
No,
That's the
but-
same. It's the same name as your son.
Yes. But what about Matsya? Who knows about Matsya?
I don't
The
even
fish.
Fish.
Yes.
I grew up in Queens, New York all my life. I was born in Maharashtra. My parents came here when I was hardly like 18 months old. And I spent nearly all of my life here, but we did take trips to India, my parents' country, my country, because I was born there. And I never really ever liked ever staying or even visiting India when I was a kid. But I did grow up in a Balvihar environment when I was a kid, and I did also participate in all the Balvihar activities as a little boy, and my sisters and I, we grew up with values and Indian culture.
So why did your parents choose to send you here?
Oh, because my parents, we had no choice. We had to go, and we had to go to Balvihar, unfortunately, on Fridays when everybody else was watching their favorite TV programs, and we had to listen to our parents, unfortunately. But I guess it paid off.
How do you mean it paid off?
Well, I have the privilege of teaching Balvihar now and seeing for myself how and why it makes sense and why it's so special to be unique in our culture and diversity and share this knowledge with the younger generation.
Did your parents ever consider going back to India?
Oh, many times they did, and it didn't work out because I never got adjusted.
What problems did you have when you were?
I had lots of problems with the language, school system, because the school system is totally different than what we have over here, and also the environment is very different, as you may know. The food and the climate and the environment in general, it's more, it's sometimes more, like I said, with the mosquitoes and sometimes, the garbage on the streets. It's a little,
Right.
yeah.
It's dirty even here, right? In Manhattan.
No.
It is dirty. Come on. India, if you live in big cities, I don't think it's. I think Manhattan is much more dirtier than the big cities, Bombay. I feel that.
No way.
So I don't mind going back to India and living there.
No, I definitely mind. I think India, I reflect that opinion. India is dirty, hot, full of diseases.
But then why are you teaching your Indian kid Indian values?
Not for her to go back to India. Just to appreciate her roots. That's
From
it.
far away.
So
So my name is Aditi Gugnani Malhotra, and I was born and brought up in the United States as we were growing up. So I spent about 6 months a year in Delhi and 6 months in America, traveling back and forth twice a year, every year of my life. So as a result of that exposure and that rooting, it was my mission as a parent to get extremely involved in activities that would shower my children with the same sort of light and empowerment and focus and insight into our culture.
Okay, are you guys going to celebrate Thanksgiving?
Yes. Except I'm not gonna eat chicken.
Why?
It's called turkey, not chicken. Yeah, it's called turkey.
Are you vegetarian? Oh, that's a good thing.
Do you know of any second generation Indians who probably...
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do know one. I would say she is an exception because she's much more Indian than I am. But she does try to inculcate all these values in her son, who's maybe 2 right now, 2.5. But her husband's very religious and she has been brought up with a lot of Indian culture and values. She can actually speak 2 Indian languages, which is very pretty amazing for being a second generation Indian. And as a matter of fact, her son can speak both Gujarati and English.
You know, it's a kind of a defense mechanism against the fact that we are sitting here and we think that we may end up losing our culture, or our kids may not kind of discover the roots that we have, and we may not be able to pass it on to them just because we are not in India. I mean,
Very good. Okay.
I felt like when I was doing it and I was thinking, I got hotter and hotter.
Yeah? Maybe that was God's energy coming into you, making you feel hot. What do you think?
Me too.
Yeah?
Or just because this is winter.
I think Indians today, and I do go back still very, very often, they're a lot more casual about being Indians. And I think because of the westernization, so much foreign direct investment, they have malls, they have multiplexes, they have every amenity, financing, and whatever brings. It's a little upsetting when you go back because there's many people in India that don't know Hindi, that don't know the Aarti, that don't know very basic elementary things. And it's because they want to be Western. So I feel like maybe it's not important anymore to them, or maybe the schools are perhaps changing gears and westernizing, so the focus has shifted perhaps, but I just hope that they eventually at some point in their life come back to all of those wonderful things that are such a big part of being an Indian.
honestly,
One thing I feel is I feel that very strongly, is that we left India in 2001.
Yeah.
And India has changed a great deal since then. Every time I go back, I'm surprised at how much things have changed, how people have changed, how everything has changed. And so what happens is that people who live, like my friend who's second generation Indian, her father has the same Indian values from 40 years ago. And then he wants his kids to follow those, he wanted his daughter to follow those values, which was ridiculous, and she had a hard time fighting it. So I don't want to be in that place with my son, where I want him to believe everything I believed in, and this is what India is supposed to be like. I know India is changing, probably faster than it's changing, than the US is changing for that matter. So
I think it's a fact of matter that whenever we basically come out of India, or for that matter any migrant community, you get kind of frozen in that particular time in that country. So you still listen to the music that was current as of whatever time you left that particular place, and culturally as well, because we don't get enough exposure. I mean, we go back like maybe a couple of weeks a year and all, and so we still think that this is how that place is, and I think a lot of immigrant communities do try to do this, that impose upon their kids what they were 40 years ago when they left their particular homeland, and I think that's a mistake, because to be honest, as she said, things have changed, But at the same time, what we also need to realize is that this kid was born here. He's an American. I mean, he is going to grow up as an American. And I don't think you can expect him to be the way we would be or another kid would be who grows up in India. So, yes, I agree. Like, he should have some cultural values. He should at least know about it. Whether he chooses to live by it or not, that's his decision.
That's his decision.
Yeah, we're just Indian. Now I'm an Indian American. Yeah, it's called the same thing.
He's way more American than he's Indian, I would say.
What is this?
What would you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah? So would you say you're Indian or American?
I'm actually kind of both. Just kind of.
Uh-huh.